There are two hypotheses that I want to sort of demystify for a few people that we'll, for the sake of our discourse, assume today. And of course, through your research, you are obviously giving a lot of substance to it. One is, of course, that aging can be controlled. This is a conversation that's happening a lot. How do you look at that? Would you like to introduce that hypothesis to people now, and then we'll build on our conversation further?
Yeah. So we often have always been taught this idea that aging is a natural consequence of life, right? If you, and one of our mentors and board members, Nir Barzilai, gives this fantastic example of when he was a young medical student sitting out in a big lecture theater, and you can look around the room, and as you're surrounded by all those people, you may not know which individual is hypertensive, diabetic, PCOS, cancer survivor, etc. We can't see that immediately and know that. But as you look around the room, you'll be able to put a decade on everyone's life. You'll know that this person is probably 20 to 30, this person is likely 50 to 60, this person might be 80 plus, etc. So there is some quality which exists in our biological existence, which gives us an indication that we are quote unquote aging, right? Something is beginning. There's a decline that's happening. There's a frailty which is occurring, etc. These are phenotypic changes. These are physical characteristics which are changing that are visible to the naked eye of the other person. Going underneath the skin, going at a cellular level, there have now been recognized that there are 9 hallmarks of aging, right? These are things like telomere reduction, so the reduction of the caps at the end of your chromosomes. This is mitochondrial dysfunction. This is dysregulation of protein synthesis. This is aggregation of protein clumps, alterations in cell signaling pathways. I mean, et cetera, right? There are 9 and they're well documented, and your audience can check them out as well. So we're now connecting the physical attributes to what's happening at the cellular level as well. So there's aging, which is happening at a cellular level, which is then leading to this. But that aging which happens at a cellular level is not something which necessarily needs to happen in a sequential way. It's not something that has to progress at a uniform pace throughout our lives. There is a degree of control or external force that can be applied to that rules of biological aging, which can act to slow it down. And in some instances, if you listen to David Sinclair's work around the analogy that he uses of the recorder, that you could reset it, that you could actually reset it and take it to a primordial stage and then go back in time and then create some degree of longevity from that perspective. Now, that's a theory yet to be proven out, and a lot of his work around Stewart, Search 1 and Search 2 looks at that. But this is what we find very interesting, is that aging may be occurring, but the pace of aging is something which is under control. And if we understand the factors that drive that pace of change, we can quote unquote control that rate of change and use it to our advantage. Now, how do you measure it is something which there is a great degree of debate around. Some people have been proponents of the quote unquote biological clock. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that my wife and I, we did this recently, where there are tests available in various labs around the world that you can provide a saliva sample, and they look at the epigenetic makeup of your DNA, i.e. the manifestation of certain genes, and particularly the number of genes that have got methyl groups, that's a carbon with 3 hydrogens attached to it. And there are various internationally published calculators now. The Hovarth clock is the most popular one, which extrapolates and quantifies the number of methyl groups as a correlation with quote unquote how biologically old you are. I.e., if you have a lot of methyl groups, you're older. If you've got less methyl groups, you're younger. So that's one form of biological calculation, right? It's different from your chronological age. So as an example, I took the test on my 39th birthday, but the biological clock gave me an age, I think I was 35.9 years old, right? So biologically, I am younger than my chronological age. And the reason I got so excited because I beat my wife, who's younger to me chronologically, but biologically I'm younger to her. So this could be one mechanism to identify the age of an individual biologically. And then as we get to the treatment side later on through the biohacking layer, which we talk a lot about, then nudge that person younger and younger. Another way to look at it is purely from a phenotypic change. So there are some interesting experiments, and there's one happening at the National University in Singapore where they are looking at phone camera-based imaging, that you take a photograph of your face and it runs an algorithm looking at all the lines and the freckles and the various things that are not visible to the naked eye, but an artificial intelligence / machine learning algorithm can calculate the rate at which you are aging from the skin changes externally manifesting on your face. Then
because that is the easiest determinant of aging, right? That's the first thing that you know.
Yeah, I won't use I don't want to use the word easiest. It is something which is apparent.
Apparent, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. It's externally apparent, and it's something which is very intuitive to us, right? So that's there. Then there are other organizations. So we currently work with a small group of researchers at IIT, Indian Institute of Technology in Mumbai, and we are looking at blood-based analyses, predictive analyses of how old you are. So from your blood samples, if we can measure your fasting insulin, your triglycerides, your liver enzymes, your HbA1c, your blood glucose levels, etc., can we extrapolate from that how healthy is your metabolism? How much gain is there in your inflammatory cascade in your body? How optimized is your mitochondria, energetics, etc.? Right? So lots and lots of new techniques and new measurements which can also happen. So it's an exciting space, but the goal is, the understanding really is that aging is a process. Like any process, it has a rate of change, and that rate of change can potentially be slowed down through specific interventions which need to be measured over a period of time. So that's the big idea.